Amid the specter of an imminent military confrontation with Iran, the Pentagon has issued a stark warning that future wars could directly strike targets on U.S. soil itself. Under the Pentagon's freshly unveiled new defense strategy, U.S. adversaries now possess the capability to launch devastating strikes right on American territory. Direct threats outlined include existential nuclear dangers alongside advanced cyber assaults, space-based attacks, and powerful electromagnetic warfare tactics. This bold strategy elevates homeland defense to the absolute top priority, representing a major and unprecedented shift in overall U.S. strategic priorities worldwide. The Pentagon declared that the global threat environment is becoming more dangerous and unpredictable than at any point in recent decades of modern history. The comprehensive document calls for massively expanded defense systems, cutting-edge counter-drone capabilities, and robust new cyber defense architectures nationwide. China and Russia are explicitly identified as possessing intercontinental ballistic missiles fully capable of reaching the U.S. continent with nuclear payloads. To effectively counter these escalating threats head-on, the Pentagon will prioritize implementation of President Trump's ambitious proposed Golden Dome missile shield. This dire warning comes just as Iran has threatened sweeping retaliatory strikes on what it deems enemy territories, according to press TV broadcasts. Ali Shamkhani, a powerful senior advisor to Supreme Leader Khamenei, delivered this threat during a tense interview with Al Mayadeen media outlet. Shamkhani claimed confidently that Iran maintains full awareness of the enemy's detailed operational plans and stands fully ready for any escalation. Iran has gathered critical intelligence on the enemy's precise plans, troop movements, and intentions, with press TV directly citing Shamkhani's revelations. The senior advisor also categorically rejected the flawed idea that any confrontations would remain neatly geographically limited to specific battlefields. Iran is aggressively working on bolstering its long-range strike capabilities amid mounting fears of all-out war with both the US and Israel. Iran claims to have successfully tested a powerful ballistic missile boasting an extraordinary range of 10,000 kilometers, according to recent reports. If these claims are independently confirmed, Iran's newly bolstered capabilities would place the US mainland firmly within Tehran's striking distance. The missile test was first reported by Defense Security Asia on January 20th, citing reliable Iranian news outlets and military announcements.
Nuclear attacks on U.S. soil. And again, for those of you that are hopping on a little bit late that missed it, let's go ahead and cover for you the 15 cities that they are saying are the primary targets if things were to erupt. And they're saying at this point it would be World War III. And again, for those of you that missed it, those top 15 cities that they're saying to be on the lookout for is Great Falls, Montana, Cheyenne, Wyoming, Ogden, Clearfield, Utah, Shreveport, Louisiana, Honolulu, Hawaii, Omaha, Nebraska, Colorado Springs, Colorado, Albuquerque, New Mexico, Washington, D.C., Seattle, Washington, San Francisco, California, Houston, Texas, Chicago, Illinois, Los Angeles, California, and New York City, as they're saying that there is concerns about attacks on the U.S. homeland with potential nuclear attacks coming from our adversaries. And that is why also we're hearing that there are warnings coming out of potential attacks on U.S. soil. I shared with you just 4 days ago, take a look here, Pentagon warns that future wars may hit U.S. soil as direct military threats grow, and one of those threats we heard was the threat of nuclear attacks on U.S. soil. Developing news coming out, we've heard that the Pentagon has warned that there is a potential attack on U.S. cities that's coming as a result of all the chaos that's happening around the world. They released their new updated defense documents, and they said an attack on the homeland is their top priority, and one of the concerns listed was the threat of potential nuclear attacks on U.S. cities. And that is why we are now starting to see articles coming out like this, confirmed also from the FBI, of lists of cities that would be the main targets for nuclear attacks if World War III were to erupt. Now I'm going to be covering for you the top 15 cities, and as you can see here, January 2026, we're starting to see articles coming out like this again. And as I mentioned, take a look here. You can see January 26, just 4 days ago, Pentagon warns future wars may hit U.S. soil as direct military threats grow. The new national defense strategy elevates homeland defense above all other missions. They're saying the threat of a potential attack to the contiguous states of the United States of America is the main concern right there, hitting North America. Now, I'm going to be covering for you some of the other concerns, but take a look look here specifically, it lists out, I'm going to be going into detail in this article here. You can see from the 26th as well. U.S. strategy labels North Korea a direct homeland threat. They're saying Korea is a major concern. And also take a look, also coming out on the 26th. So just 4 days ago, we're seeing a lot of this information being released. Announced updated guidance to counter drone threats in the homeland. And we're talking about the threats that are being posed directly by Iran, which, if you haven't heard, breaking news coming out in the last 30 minutes here, hang with me and take a look. South Asia-linked terror groups remain a homeland threat, U.S. officials warn. Lawmakers told militant networks are rooted in Pakistan and Afghanistan that are adapting tactics and continue to inspire violence inside of the United States. So there's an assortment of different threats here that they are saying are being cast against the United States. 2026 Homeland Security Threat Forecast, Part 1. Terrorism. This coming out January 28th, 2026. So again, a lot of this coming out in just the past 4 days and coming out in just the past 30 minutes or so. Look at this, spreading out all over the news media headlines. U.S. military told the Middle East today, their allies, that Trump attack on Iran is imminent, according to reports. Now, this isn't about the nukes or the missile program, it says. This is about regime change, a foreign senior intelligence official told Dropsite News. We're going to be covering the details. I have not even yet had a chance to read this. I saw this pop up in breaking news while I was preparing for this live stream.
All right, shalom, shalom. Giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Shemi Hawashai, Hashem, Rachaha Kodash. Double honor to the apostles, elders, and bishops of Great Millstone. Peace and salutations to the Akim doing the work in truth and in sincerity across the four corners of the earth. This is your brother Amawan Ariello, GMS Miami camp. Okay, and it's been going through some articles and different videos and things of that nature, and I've just been seeing a large vibration on World War III being pushed out. Okay, not too long ago, the Pentagon issued out a statement, or not even a statement, but they were speaking on how the likelihood of American city to be hit by a nuclear warhead or some type of attack is very, very great. Okay, as it stands, America has a lot of different enemies and people who don't agree with their policies and things of that nature. All right, because America has done things that are that seem shiesty in this world, but nevertheless, there's a huge threat, okay, and things are being spiked up, especially with the presence of ICE, right, doing what they're doing, abusing the people, so-called Americans, all right, not just black Americans, so-called black Americans, but also so-called white Americans are starting to feel this huge pressure from ICE, for the most part. All right, the ones who feel like the way things are being done are not fair. Okay, they're coming out there and they're showing their disagreement through protests and things of that nature. Okay, but it's a huge number of people who are figuring out America, man, and how they treat their people, even their own kind. Because if a nigga gets treated badly, then not too many people care. But don't let it be an Edomite, all right, who gets mistreated in this country. Other Edomites are going to feel some type of way, and they're going to do what we call protesting. Okay, but all these things must come to pass because these are clear indications and clear milestones as to where we're at in time. Okay, and how long it's going to take for us to be able to get up out of here. All right, that should be on every one of our minds. Okay, wanting to leave this fucking place because it's wicked. Micah 2:10 says, "Arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest." Or if you're roughly paraphrasing, all right, it shall destroy you even with the sword of destruction. It is polluted. Okay, so our anticipation is to get out of here as quick as possible. But there's order into everything that the Lord does. All right, does it in decency and in order. So a couple prophecies have to pop off before we can get up out of here, or even before World War III happens. That MOTB has to come into full effect, man. All right, which they are currently doing now. They're just it's not on the forefront, okay, but they are working on that infrastructure, and pretty soon, all right, a lot of us are going to have to make a choice, or you already know that the Lord's going to keep us from the hour of temptation, but the elect, we're not going to fall for the okie doke, okay. We know that there's something greater laid up for us, towards the end, but as of this moment, there's a lot of talk about nuclear war, man, World War III. All right, so real quick, I wanted to grab the book of Revelations 11:13, and it says, And the same hour was there a great earthquake, and 10th part of the city fell. Right, that 10th part is the 10 different FEMA regions in every state. Right, which the apostles have spoken about. Hey, look, it could be a certain or specific city. You know what I'm saying to you, that gets hit before a nuclear war begins. All right, because it says the 10th part of the city fell, and were slain of men 7,000, which is the complete number of men that were slain by this attack. And the remnant were affrighted and gave glory to the Most High of heaven. So this is a future prophecy, man. And when we see this is a clear indicator that, shit, man, hey, we're close. All right, now's not the time to be falling out the truth. Now it's the time to go hard, harder for Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Speaking to myself first and foremost. All right, Revelations 11 and 14 says, and the second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. All right, World War III. And the seventh angel sounded, and there was great voices in heaven saying, the kingdom of this world are become the kingdoms of our Lord and his Mashiach. All right, and he shall reign forever and ever. All right, and this is the song that the elect are going to sing. All right, the angels, which were also angels. Angels just means messengers, and we are the messengers, all right, or the mouthpiece of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. We come out here, all right, week in and week out. We do our lessons, all in hopes of pleasing our Father, because we know some of the people that listen to these lessons, they may hear, they may not hear, ultimately it's up to the Spirit. The Spirit is where it guides you where you need to go. All right, this is why Yahweh says, my sheep know my voice, and they follow with me whithersoever I go. All right, so we're going to follow Yahweh Shem Yahushua. All right, and we're going to give praise to Yahweh Shem Yahushua when we start to see the destruction of our enemy, not just on the spiritual level, but also on the physical level. All right, this is Acts 14 and 13. It says, and this is just an account, okay? Because, we're going to have to go through some shit, man. All right, but the most important thing is that we persevere, that we endure, okay? It's all about enduring, man. All right, let me see where I want to start. All right, let's start from Acts 14:13 says, and the priest, this is just a story, but, the point is towards the end. All right, Acts 14:13, the priest of Jupiter, which was before the city, brought oxen and garlands unto the gates, and would have done sacrifice with the people. Which when the apostles Barnabas and Paul heard of, they rent their clothes and ran in among the people, crying out and saying, sirs, why do you these things? We are also men of like possessions with you, or like passions with you, Salakia, and preach unto you that you should turn, all right, from these vanities unto the living power, because our people are very heavy into idol worship, man. And you have Paul and Barnabas, pleading with the people. Yo, man, don't do this thing. We have passion. We know the same passion that you have to serve a higher power. We have that same passion. But you need to put that passion towards serving Yahweh Shem Yahushua. That's ultimately what it's saying. All right? So continuing on in verse 15, saying, sirs, why do you these things? We are also men of like passions with you, and preach unto you that you should turn from these vanities unto the living power, whose name is Yahweh, which made heaven and the earth and the sea and all the things that are in. So worship that power. Don't worship a statue that can't move, can't talk, can't speak. All right? It says in verse 16, who in times past suffered all nations to walk in their own ways. Nevertheless, he left not himself without witness, and that he did good and gave us rain from the heaven and a fruitful season, filling our hearts with food and gladness. Jake, the way he gets happy is through his stomach. And these sayings scarce restrained they, the people, that they had not done sacrifice unto them. And there came thither certain Jews from Antioch, Iconium, who persuaded the people, and having stoned Paul, right? Because, they killed Paul. Having stoned Paul, drew him out of the city, supposing he had been dead. And the disciples stood around about him, and he rose up and came into the city, and the next day departed with Barnabas and Derbe. Do you see what happened here? Barnabas and Paul were doing the work, okay? Paul got stoned, and they threw him out of the city, okay? But the disciples came around, stood around him. The Spirit of the Lord allowed the Spirit to go back into his body, and came into the city, and the next day departed with Barnabas to Derbe. So he still kept going through the work, man. He was doing the work until death. And the Lord's like, nope, put his spirit right back in his body. You still got work to do. All right, and which is our mindset, which is where it should be. All right, willing to sacrifice, putting ourselves on the line as a living sacrifice for Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. He did it. And we do it by going out in the highways and byways and doing this work, regardless of what may be, ahead of us. But pretty soon, we're not going to be out there preaching and teaching, because prophets, they speak before something happens. So why would the Lord put his men out there while these things are happening, man? And this is the warning that we're putting out. These devils are starting to get their shit together, and the rest of the world's going to get tired of America's shit, aka Babylon, their shit. All right, and the Lord's going to actually allow them to get their issue, which is going to probably be a nuclear bomb going off in a major city, man. And which part is going to put fear in a lot of people. All right, and a lot of our people they're gonna come back to these videos and say, "Damn, let me go ahead and try to find out what's the next thing to happen." All right, and these situations are meant to humble our people, but a lot of our people are not going to humble. Some are going to turn back to Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. All right, that Isaiah 4:1 is going to have to kick in somewhere. All right, you're going to have more brothers coming to the truth, because remember, we still have people out there, that have heard the truth, but we still got people that for where we're at, we should have more people teaching, right? But the Lord does things in decency and in order, man. So when that time happens, it's going to happen. But at the end of the day, man, this is to show you we're very close to the end. All right, and we're gonna have hard times. We're gonna go through shit. Okay, but the whole point is to persevere. Matthew 24:13 comes to spirit. Salakia. All right. Let me get over here. All right, let's look at Matthew chapter 24, starting at verse 13. It says, "But he that shall endure until the end, the same shall be saved." All right, so it's all about enduring these hard times that are about to happen. Okay, and also trusting in the Lord, because, there's no other way around it, man. You got to trust in Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. Okay, you got to trust in him, because if you don't, how do you expect to receive miracles, man? How do you expect to receive supernatural power if you need to defend your family? Okay? Let me see here. Oh, right. Another thing, too, before I forget, we cannot go into the kingdom unless we go through some shit, man. Okay? Through much tribulation shall we enter into the kingdom. Okay? That's how that works, man. We're not going to get off scot-free. We're going to have to go through what the scripture calls the time of Jacob's trouble. So, Akim, Lord willing, that's what's edifying. We got to, prepare ourselves for these things, man. Civil war, all right? Attacks, okay? Attacks, all right? All these different things, man. So, with that, Lord willing, that's what's edifying. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Racha HaKodash, Shalom.